The manila envelope sits on the mahogany desk like a loaded weapon, its innocuous appearance betraying the explosive contents within. John Anderson's hands tremble as he tears it open, his tailored suit suddenly feeling too tight around his collar. The letterhead reads Premier DNA Testing Laboratory, but it's the results below that make his world tilt on its axis. Match probability, 99.97%. The words blur as his vision tunnels. Emily Anderson, Karen Brown. Biological relationship, mother and daughter. This can't be right, he whispers to the empty office, his voice echoing off the floor-to-ceiling windows that overlook downtown Seattle. But what happened next shocked everyone. Who thought they knew the Anderson family's perfectly crafted story? 23 floors below, Karen Brown methodically dusts the same crystal vase she's cleaned for 15 years. Her dark hands move with practiced precision, but her eyes keep drifting toward the elevator that will soon carry her to the executive floor. She doesn't know about the envelope yet, but something in the air feels different today. Electric. Dangerous. Karen has worked for the Anderson family since Emily was 3 years old. She's folded countless loads of tiny pink clothes, kissed scraped knees better, and stayed up through fevered nights when John was traveling for business. To the outside world, she's simply the help. But little did Karen know that today would unravel the carefully constructed life she's built on a foundation of silence and sacrifice. John's intercom crackles to life. Mr. Anderson, your daughter called. She's still at the University of Washington. Should I have her come in? His jaw tightens. Emily. His brilliant, beautiful Emily with her mother's green eyes and infectious laugh. The daughter he's raised, loved, and protected for 20 years. The daughter who might not be his at all. Get her on the phone. Now. The call connects after 3 rings. Dad, what's wrong? You sound terrible. Emily's voice carries the easy confidence of someone who's never questioned her place in the world. She's probably sitting in her favorite spot at the campus coffee shop, psychology textbooks spread around her like armor against life's uncertainties. This decision would change everything for both of them. Emily, I need you to come home. Tonight. It's important. Important how? I have my abnormal psych exam tomorrow, and Professor Martinez said. Emily, his voice cuts through her protest like a blade. Come home, please. The silence stretches between them, filled with unspoken questions and suddenly uncertain futures. Emily's pen stops moving across her notebook. Around her, other students continue their conversations, oblivious to the seismic shift happening in her world. Dad, you're scaring me. Just come home, sweetheart. We'll talk when you get here. As John ends the call, Karen appears in his doorway with her evening tea service. She's done the same ritual for 15 years, Earl Grey with honey, served at exactly 5:30. No matter what crisis might be consuming his business empire. But tonight, her usually steady hands shake slightly as she sets down the china cup. Will there be anything else, Mr. Anderson? Their eyes meet across the expanse of his office, and for a moment, Karen sees something in his gaze that makes her blood run cold. Recognition, knowledge, fear. Actually, Karen, there's something. He holds up the DNA report, and her composed mask finally cracks. We need to talk. But the real shock was still coming, because neither John nor Karen realized that Emily had already left campus and was speeding through Seattle traffic. Her intuition screaming that whatever awaited her at home would shatter everything she thought. She knew about her family. The elevator in the Anderson building hums quietly as it carries Emily toward answers she's not prepared to hear. In the executive suite, Karen stands frozen while John studies her face with new eyes, searching for traces of the daughter he's loved as his own for 2 decades. Little did any of them know that the truth waiting to be revealed would either destroy their family forever or forge bonds stronger than blood itself. Emily's car pulled into the circular driveway, gravel crunching under her tires as she parked beside her father's Mercedes. Something felt different about the house, an invisible tension hanging in the air like storm clouds before lightning strikes. The usually pristine Anderson estate seemed to hold its breath. She pushed through the front door, her college backpack sliding off her shoulder. Dad, you said it was urgent. Her voice died as she caught sight of her father pacing in his study, his face a mask of barely controlled emotion. Through the doorway, she could see Karen dusting the same bookshelf for the third time, her movements unnaturally stiff. "Emily," John's voice cut through the silence like a blade. "We need to talk." But before Emily could respond, her father's attention snapped to Karen. "No more games, Karen. No more of this charade." His voice carried a harsh edge Emily had never heard before. Not directed at Karen. 21 years. 21 years you've been in this house, and you never said a word." Karen's hands trembled as she set down her cloth. "Mr. Anderson, please. Don't Mr. Anderson me." John's fist slammed against his mahogany desk, making Emily jump. "The DNA results don't lie, Karen. What I want to know is how long you've known." Emily's heart hammered against her ribs. "DNA results?" She pressed herself against the wall, trying to piece together the fragments of conversation floating through the air like broken glass. Karen's composure finally cracked, tears spilling down her weathered cheeks. "I promised her," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "I promised your wife I would never tell." The words hit the room like a physical blow. Emily watched her father stumble backward, his face draining of color. But it was the pain in Karen's eyes that made Emily's chest tighten. A pain she'd seen glimpses of over the years but never understood. "Tell what?" Emily stepped forward, her voice small but demanding. "Dad, what's going on? What DNA results?" John turned to his daughter, and for the first time in her life, Emily saw her powerful, commanding father look truly lost. "Emily, I received some information today. About Karen. About you." Karen wrapped her arms around herself, rocking slightly. "She made me promise," she repeated, her eyes distant as if she were looking into the past. "Your mother. She was so scared, so worried about what people would think, what your father would think." "My mother," Emily's voice cracked. "Karen, what are you talking about?" "My mother died when I was born." "She did," Karen said softly, meeting Emily's eyes for the first time. "But not before. Not before she made me swear on my life that I would love you as my own, that I would protect you, that I would never, ever tell you the truth about." "About what?" Emily's shout echoed through the house. Karen's next words came out in a broken whisper, each syllable carrying the weight of 2 decades of secrets. "I had no choice, baby girl. Your mama, she knew she wasn't going to make it through the birth. She knew her heart couldn't handle it. And she knew your daddy would never accept." John moved toward Karen, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. "Never accept what, Karen? What exactly did my wife know?" But Emily had heard enough fragmented pieces. She was smart, valedictorian of her high school class, pre-med at Stanford. The tension, the careful distance Karen sometimes maintained, the way she'd catch the woman watching her with such fierce protectiveness. "The DNA results her father mentioned." "Oh my God," Emily breathed, her legs giving out as she sank into the nearest chair. "Oh my God, you're saying you think Karen is..." Before anyone could answer, the front door chimed, and Lisa Carter's cheerful voice called out from the foyer. "Hello, John. I brought those documents you asked for." The three of them froze like deer in headlights as footsteps approached the study. Emily's world tilted on its axis, every certainty she'd ever known crumbling around her as one question burned through her mind. With crystalline clarity, if Karen was her biological mother, then who exactly was the woman she'd been told was her mother her entire life? Emily's hands tremble as she stares at the DNA report that fell from her father's desk. The numbers and percentages blur together, but one line remains crystal clear: 99.97% probability of biological relationship. Her world tilts on its axis as the implications crash down like thunderous waves. "This can't be real," she whispers, sinking into her father's leather chair. The same chair where she'd shared countless bedtime stories, where he'd helped her with homework, where he'd promised her she was his precious daughter. Now everything feels like a carefully constructed lie. John finds her there 20 minutes later, his face pale as he sees the report clutched in her shaking hands. "Emily, I can explain. You think Karen is my biological mother." Her voice cracks on the words, each syllable feeling foreign on her tongue. "The woman who's been cleaning our house, cooking our meals, taking care of us all these years." John's jaw tightens as he moves around his desk. "I don't think anything yet. This could be some elaborate scheme, some attempt to To what, Dad? To destroy our family for money? Karen doesn't seem like the type who'd. You don't know what people are capable of when they're desperate, Emily. His voice carries a bitter edge she's never heard before. I've seen it in business countless times. People create elaborate lies to get what they want. But Emily's mind drifts to memories that suddenly take on new meaning. Karen's gentle touch when she was sick. The way she'd linger in the doorway during Emily's piano recitals. The tears in her eyes at Emily's high school graduation. She'd always assumed Karen was simply emotional about watching her grow up. Now she wonders if there was something deeper. A flashback floods her consciousness. She's 7 years old, crying over a scraped knee from falling off her bike. Her father was away on business, and it was Karen who'd held her, rocked her, whispered soft words of comfort until the tears stopped. "My precious girl," Karen had murmured. And Emily remembers thinking it was strange that Karen called her that, when only her parents usually did. The doorbell rings, breaking through her spiraling thoughts. John's family friend Lisa Carter sweeps in with her usual dramatic flair, designer purse swinging as she air kisses John's cheek. "Darling, you sounded absolutely frantic on the phone. What's this emergency?" Lisa's perfectly manicured eyebrows furrow as she takes in the tense atmosphere. Her gaze lands on Emily's tear-stained face and the DNA report still clutched in her hands. "It's nothing, Lisa. Just a family matter we're sorting through," John says quickly, but Lisa's sharp eyes miss nothing. "Oh, honey," Lisa says softly to Emily, "whatever it is, remember that families go through storms. The real question is whether you weather them together or let them tear you apart." Emily looks up at Lisa, wondering if she somehow knows more than she's letting on. There's something in Lisa's expression, a knowing sadness, that suggests she's witnessed family secrets before. "Lisa, I think it's best if you," John starts, but Emily cuts him off. "No, Dad. I need to know the truth." She stands up, the DNA report crumpling in her clenched fist. "I need to talk to Karen." John's face hardens. "Emily, you don't understand what you're dealing with. This woman could be trying to manipulate us too. This woman raised me." Emily's voice echoes through the office. "She was there when I took my first steps, when I lost my first tooth, when Mom died and we were both falling apart. If there's even a chance this is true, don't I deserve to hear her side?" The mention of Emily's mother hangs in the air like a ghost. John's expression softens for a moment, vulnerability flickering across his features before his businessman's mask slides back into place. "If you insist on this conversation," he says carefully, "then I'm going to be there too. We'll get to the bottom of this together." Emily nods, her heart pounding as they head toward the kitchen where Karen typically finishes her evening tasks. With each step, Emily's mind races with questions that have no easy answers. How could her entire life be built on a foundation she never knew existed? They find Karen at the kitchen sink, her shoulders rigid with tension as she carefully washes the same glass over and over. She turns as they enter, and Emily sees something she's never noticed before, her own eyes reflected in Karen's face. "Karen," Emily says, her voice barely above a whisper, "we need to talk." Karen's hands still on the glass, and for a moment, the only sound is water dripping from the faucet. When she finally turns to face them fully, Emily holds up the crumpled DNA report. "Is this true?" Karen stands frozen in the doorway, her hands trembling as Emily holds the DNA letter between them like a barrier. The weight of 23 years of secrets presses down on her shoulders, and she knows there's no turning back now. "Is this true?" Emily's voice cracks, her eyes searching Karen's face for any sign of deception. Karen's mouth opens, but no words come. She glances toward the study, where she can hear John pacing, his footsteps echoing like thunder through the mansion. The decision she's avoided for over 2 decades suddenly becomes unavoidable. Karen begins, then stops. She looks at Emily, really looks at her, seeing not just the young woman she's helped raise, but the baby she held in her arms that first night. "We need to sit down." But before Emily can respond, John bursts from his study, clutching a manila folder. His face is flushed with anger and something else, desperation. "Karen, I've been going through old records," he says, his voice sharp. "Medical files, employment documents, everything. And there are gaps. Convenient gaps right around the time Emily was born." Karen's heart pounds. She knew this day would come eventually, but she'd always imagined it differently, gentler, more controlled. What are you suggesting, Mr. Anderson? Karen asks, though they both know exactly what he's suggesting. I'm suggesting that you've been lying to my family for over 20 years. John slams the folder on the coffee table. These DNA results don't lie, Karen. But apparently you do. Emily steps between them, her voice rising. Stop it. Both of you. Just stop. Tears stream down her face. I don't understand what's happening. Dad, you're acting like a stranger. And Karen, you're looking at me like I'm about to disappear. Just then, the doorbell rings. Through the window, they see Lisa Carter's car in the driveway. John runs his hands through his hair, clearly frustrated by the timing. I'll get it, Emily says, desperate to escape the tension. Lisa enters with her usual warm smile, but it fades quickly when she sees the scene before her. Oh my, is everything all right? You all look like you've seen a ghost. We're fine, Lisa, John says curtly, but his body language suggests otherwise. Lisa, ever perceptive, glances between John and Karen, then at Emily's tear-stained face. You know, Emily, sometimes the most important conversations happen when we least expect them. And sometimes, the people we think we know best still have stories we've never heard. Emily looks at Lisa with confusion. But there's something in the older woman's tone that suggests she knows more than she's letting on. What do you mean? Emily asks. Lisa touches Emily's arm gently. I mean that families aren't always what they seem on the surface. Love comes in many forms, sweetheart. Sometimes the most profound love is the kind that requires sacrifice. John stares at Lisa suspiciously. Lisa, what are you trying to say? But Lisa just smiles sadly and looks at Karen. Sometimes the truth is more beautiful than the lie, even when it's painful. Don't you think, Karen? Karen's composure finally cracks. She sinks into a chair, covering her face with her hands. I promised her, she whispers. I promised Margaret I would never tell. The room falls silent except for the sound of Karen's quiet sobs. Emily kneels beside her, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. Tell me what? Emily asks softly. Karen looks up, her eyes meeting John's across the room. For a moment, all the anger fades from his face, replaced by something that looks almost like understanding. Your mother, Karen begins, her voice barely audible. She made me promise something before she died. Something about you, Emily. Something about us. John's face goes pale. Margaret knew. Karen nods slowly, wiping tears from her cheeks. She knew everything. She arranged everything. Emily's grip tightens on Karen's shoulder. What did she arrange? Please, Karen, I need to understand. Karen takes a deep breath, looking at each person in the room. John, whose world is crumbling around him, Emily, desperate for answers, and Lisa, who somehow seems to know exactly what's coming next. The truth is, Karen says, her voice growing stronger, your mother and I, we made an agreement, a promise about your future, Emily, about who would raise you and love you. She pauses, meeting Emily's eyes directly. Because you see, sweetheart, Karen's voice trembles as she prepares to reveal the secret that will change everything. Karen's hands tremble as she takes a deep breath, her eyes moving between Emily and John. The weight of 23 years of silence hangs heavy in the Anderson mansion's living room. Emily, she whispers, her voice barely audible, you are my daughter, my biological daughter. The words hit the room like a thunderclap. Emily staggers backward, her hand flying to her chest, while John's face drains of all color. That's impossible, he breathes, but Karen shakes her head, tears streaming down her weathered cheeks. Your mother couldn't have children, Karen continues, her voice growing stronger with each word. After years of trying, the doctors told Sarah that conceiving naturally was impossible. She was devastated. John, you were traveling so much for business, you didn't see how it was destroying her. The flashback unfolds like a precious, painful memory. 24 years ago, a young Karen sits in a modest clinic, her belly round with pregnancy. Across from her, Sarah Anderson holds her hand, both women crying. Please, Sarah whispers, let me give this baby the life you can't provide. I promise, I swear to you, Karen, that I'll love her like she's my own flesh and blood. Young Karen nods through her tears, signing the private adoption papers. Just promise me I can watch her grow up. Promise me I can be part of her life somehow. You'll be family, Sarah assures her. Always. Back in the present, Karen's voice cracks with emotion. Your mother kept her word. She hired me not just as help, but so I could be near you, Emily. So I could watch you take your first steps, help you with your homework, be there when you needed a shoulder to cry on. John sinks into his leather chair, his world completely shattered. Sarah never told me, he whispers. She let me believe. She protected all of us, Karen says firmly. She knew you would have questioned everything, would have worried about legal complications, about what people would think. Sarah just wanted to be a mother, and she wanted me to be part of our daughter's life. Emily's legs give out, and she collapses onto the sofa, staring at Karen with new eyes. Every memory suddenly makes sense, the way Karen always knew exactly what she needed. The gentle touches, the fierce protection, the tears in Karen's eyes during Emily's graduation. The lullaby, Emily whispers suddenly. The one you used to sing when I had nightmares. Mom said she didn't know where she learned it. Karen smiles through her tears. I sang it to you when you were in my belly. Sarah heard me humming it during one of our meetings, and she asked me to teach it to her. The DNA results scattered on the coffee table suddenly make perfect sense. John picks up the papers with shaking hands, seeing them not as an accusation, but as confirmation of a love story he never knew existed. Why now? John asks, his voice hoarse. Why reveal this now, after Sarah's gone? Karen wipes her eyes with the back of her hand. Because Emily's graduating college, starting her own life. Because I'm getting older, and the weight of this secret was killing me. But mostly because you've been so lost since Sarah died, and Emily's been so lost too. And I thought, maybe it was time for this family to know the whole truth about how much love created it. Emily stands slowly, walking toward Karen with tears streaming down her face. You gave me life. Twice. Once when you carried me, and again when you gave me to parents who could give me everything. I never gave you away, Karen says, reaching out to touch Emily's face. I just shared you. Every day I've been your maid. I've also been your mother, loving you from a different role. Emily collapses into Karen's arms, 23 years of unknowing love finally acknowledged. I always felt it, she sobs. I always felt like there was something special between us, something I couldn't explain. John watches this reunion, his heart breaking and healing simultaneously. He thinks of Sarah, of the incredible woman who orchestrated this arrangement out of pure love, who created a family from impossible circumstances. I'm sorry, he says, standing and approaching both women. I'm sorry I never saw it, never understood. Sarah was protecting something beautiful, and I almost destroyed it with my suspicion and pride. He extends his arms, and for the first time in their lives, the three of them embrace as the family they've always been but never acknowledged. Emily in the middle, held by both the woman who gave her life and the man who raised her, with Karen finally able to openly show the love she's carried in secret for over 2 decades. We're not changing anything, John says softly. If anything, we're completing something Sarah started. Karen, you're not our maid anymore. You're Emily's mother, and you're my family. As the sun sets through the mansion's windows, the three of them sit together on the sofa. Emily's head on Karen's shoulder, John's hand on both their arms. For the first time since Sarah's death, the Anderson house feels like a home again. Not despite the truth, but because of it. Mom would be so happy right now, Emily whispers, and both her parents, all three of her parents, in their own beautiful way, know she's absolutely right. Love, it turns out, doesn't follow DNA. It follows the heart,